will show you what I mean. Yeah, Anfal, can you see the page? Can you see my screen now?
Yes, doctor.
Look at this poem by Walt Whitman. This is an American poet called Walt Whitman. Okay. Now this is a modern, in a way, well, he's not a modern, but he's writing in sort of not traditional way of writing poetry. Look at this, for example, this one called Crossing Brooklyn Ferry. Look how he writes, for example, number one, you know, he writes this way. Look at the lines. Look how funny, how strange this. And look at the next line, the next number two. Look at it like that again. It's really very strange. No stanza, no rhyme, nothing. And look, for example, number two. Yeah?
Did you share the screen?
Yeah, I think I did. Can you see it?
It doesn't appear.
Yes, we see it. I can see it.
I can.
Yes, I can see it.
It's there, doctor. It's there.
Well, I don't know. Maybe it's up to your machines. I don't know, but yeah. Can you see it now?
Yeah.
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 So,
now I can see it.
Okay, I know there may be some hiccups. Look at number two, for example. Again, the number of lines. You know, the way the lines are written and the way they are structured. There's no single fixed way. Yeah, Anfal, huh? Anfal, are you still with me?
Yes, I'm with you.
Look, for example, how number three. Look at this one here. How strange this is. Okay, look at it. The lines, long lines, the way the separations, the shorter lines, and so on. And you can see, for example, number four, only 4 or 5 lines, and so on. You know, this is very strange, unrhymed poetry. Unrhymed poetry. If I stop sharing with this one and I will share the other one, for example, if I show you the next one here, in a minute, I will show you in our example. Yeah. For example, you know, all the poems that we have. For example, okay, let me share this one with you again, and you can see I'm still answering Anfal's question about being fixed or not fixed. Look at this one here, okay? For example, you know, this is our booklet, Christopher Marlowe. For example, look at the sonnets, you know, Shakespeare sonnets. This is sonnet 18, you can count it, 14 lines. And this, the next sonnet, 14 lines, and the same thing. I will come back to these. Look at this one here, stanzas, 4 lines each stanza. Look at it, 4 lines, 4 lines, 4 lines, and then 4 lines, etc., etc. So this is what we call fixed. It is fixed, each stanza, 4 lines. And the rhyme, you can see, like, for example, here, rocks, flocks, falls, goals, roses, posies, kirtle, myrtle. You can see here they are in couplets. Love, prove. This is what we call a not perfect rhyme. This is what we call that. Now, this is also, we say, the fixed rhyme, okay, fixed form. Okay, boys and girls?
Yes. Thank you.
Okay, doctor.
Yes, doctor.
Very good. Very good. So let me go back to our story today, which is I think I finished with you last time the poetry terms. Any question about the terms? No questions about the terms, because I think as last time I went a bit quickly on the last parts, which is, I think, as I said, it's very clear from when you read it. I'm sure you can tell. Now, The first section really here we want to do today is what we call narrative poetry. The first section, if you like, the first element we want to know here is about what we call narrative poetry, or in fact, we have a poem, a very nice poem, which is called Introduction to Poetry, how poetry sometimes is introduced. And in fact, there's a poem, very nice poem by our American poet called Billy Collins. Billy Collins, he even wrote a poem called Introduction to Poetry, which is really amazing. Look at it. I think I'm sharing it with you here on this page, page 14. Can you see that?
Yes, Doctor.
Billy Collins.
Yes.
I mean, look at the title even. The title is very strange, isn't it? When you say a title, Introduction to Poetry, you know, really he's being funny and he's being sarcastic and he's being ironical to say to people, how do you look at poetry? How do you see poetry? Okay, how do you see poetry? And really, he is giving us this this example, which is again very strange example. And this is here to go back to our friend Anfal. This is again not fixed poetry. Look at it, for example. The first 3 lines, and then 1 line, and then 2 lines, and then 2 lines, and 3 and 3, and then 2. You know, here no rhyme, no fixed number of lines in each poem, in each part, and so on. So this is really what we call not fixed, you know, like free verse, free poetry. But when you look at them at the poem, really, you laugh here if you like, and you understand this. And again, as I told you last time, you know, my previous. Have you been listening to my previous recordings, my last term's recordings? Have you listened to any of them?
Not yet, Doctor.
I told you, I think if I share with you one of them, I will, yeah, let me share and I will show you what I mean exactly. And I think I told you that before, but I must again. Now, can you see my screen now? This is the Moodle.
Yes.
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 I'm going to play myself here in the previous recording, which is again about the title. You can see narrative poetry. You know, this is, I'm today repeating what I have said in this. Now, let me play this for only 2, 3, or 5 minutes. And you can hear what I said last September. This is 27th of September, okay? Yes. So the poem, as I said, is quite interesting and to some extent really funny. But it's not funny because, as I said, it looks to represent or as if it represents the modernist or the mod. Can you hear me?
Yes, it's clear.
Yes,
Yes.
loud and
Yes.
clear.
I mean the old recordings, not now.
Yeah.
Yes.
Good. Okay, good. Let me go on for 5 minutes, okay? Just to show you that they are exactly the same, nearly the same. Listen. Style of poetry, as we shall see later on, of course, not now, or maybe not this year or this term. And here, the example of this is, again, to see how poetry is written. It's like a message here, or like really, well, it's not narrative, but it's like a beginning of a small narrative. Notice what he said, this poem. I asked them to take a poem and hold it up to the light like a color slide, or press an ear against its hive. I say, drop a mouse into a poem and watch him probe his way out. or walk inside the poem's room and feel the walls for a light switch. I want them to. I ask them to take a poem and hold it like this, take a poem like that, and see what do you see. Really something delicious and some. But there was something funny in my recordings at that time.
This is the problem, Doctor.
I
the old one.
had sometimes I had problems, but let me see if it's going to be. Oh, come on! Poetry is not only meaning, and that's why he's using these images to the. Anyway, really, I will stop here, but I'm saying please listen to both recordings, because you may get something extra here or there. Okay, I'm not just saying, I'm not repeating exactly 100% the same thing. But anyway, to go back to my poem, and I will stop sharing with you this screen at the moment. Where was I? Let me see. Where is it? Yeah. Did I stop sharing? I think yes, I did. Yeah, let me go back to my poem, to today's live thing. So here again, I go back to the poem, Introduction to Poetry. As I said, as I was saying last time, my first element to talk about is narrative poetry. But this one, as I said, it's really like an introduction to the whole thing. It's quite an interesting entrance to that. Here, really, Billy Collins is asking, what do you really want from a poem? When you read a poem, yeah, Ammar, what do you want from a poem? Ammar. Do you read poetry, Amfal? Boys?
I think you mean Amr, Doctor.
Oh, Amr or Ammar, the same. Maybe they are cousins. Yeah, Amr.
Yes.
Do you read poetry?
Not English poetry, Doctor, but Arabic.
Why do you read poetry?
I read it because of the imagery in it. I read it to learn new words. Sometimes in Arabic poetry, they are like words that you don't know, but you know them in context when in that text when they read it.
Yeah, very good. What else, boys and girls? Why do you read poetry?
Various reasons, actually.
Yeah, give me one or two.
Some of them are for knowledge, I guess.
Yeah.
And most of them are just the beauty of the language itself.
Yeah, very good. Yeah. Anyone else? Balqis? Balqis?
Yes, maybe to entertain our time.
To entertain ourselves and to pass time and for entertainment. Ikhlas?
And
Yeah?
also doctors in Arabic, some old stories are written in a way of poetry, so they are not written as narrative.
Yeah. Ikhlas?
I don't read poetry.
Well, I don't read poetry. Why? You hate poetry?
Maybe yes, out of my interest.
Oh my God, Ikhlas, you are a creator. You are very creative. I like your language and your writing. You must be a poet. No? Maybe you're mistaken, doctor.
I don't like poetry.
Okay, well, okay, I'm just asking to really to tease you to see people really read poetry for enjoyment, for entertainment, for images, for beauty, for language, for rhythm, for musicality, for knowledge. Yeah. But you see, sometimes poetry is just poetry, really. Sometimes poetry don't say anything, just the beauty of things. Because this is the idea that this man here in this poem, he's saying, people read poetry because they think there is something in poetry. You want to eat something inside. And he's saying, sometimes said, well, there's nothing inside the poem. Here, what he's saying, I asked them to take a poem and hold it up to the light like a color slide. You know how to look on a color slide. You want to see through it. So I say, I asked people to take a poem and to hold it up to the light like that. There's a light up here, and to see what's inside it. What can you see inside? And he said, or press an ear against its hive, or maybe you put it on your ear, can you hear something in it? I say, drop a mouse into a poem and watch him probe his way out. Again, here he's comparing a poem to a room or a small place where you put a mouse inside, this, and then the mouse will be moving, like here he said, I drop a mouse into a poem and watch him probe his way out, as if comparing a poem to a small room where you put a mouse inside and this mouse will find its way to go out. Or walk inside the poem's room and feel the walls for a light switch. You can't see a light switch. Sometimes you go inside a room and there's nothing in it. It's empty, it's dark, there's nothing in it. I want them to water ski across the surface of a poem. Now here again, he's comparing a poem to a sea. And he's saying, I ask people to ski, water ski, like scuba diving or this kind of skiing on a poem, as if you're swimming in a poem. What do you see in it? He said, across the surface of a poem, waving at the author's name on the shore, as if you're reading a poem or swimming in a poem, and the writer of that poem is across near at the shore, and you're waving for him to say, hey, am I doing well? Am I okay? But all they want to do is tie the poem to a chair with a rope and torture a confession out of it. He said, but many people say no. We want a poem to tell us something. So they tie, he said, all they means these readers, these people. They tie the poem to a chair and beat it and hit it, notice here, with a rope and torture a confession out of it. Means, say it, tell me, say what do you have, say what you want to say. And sometimes the poem can't say anything, And notice here, he said, they begin beating it with a hose. Hose? It's like a water hose. It's like a whip. They are whipping a poem to say something. What do you have? What do you have? Tell me, to find out what it really means. But sometimes a poem doesn't mean anything. Sometimes a poem, what do you think, to go back to my question, what do you think this poem is telling us? Is it telling us anything here, this poem? Where is the meaning in this poem?
Doctor, when people try to squeeze the meaning out of the poem, if it is just a poem for fun or just to pass time, they will try to make a meaning out of it.
May I, Doctor?
Yeah, please.
I think the poem talking about the nature of poetry, how poetry should be appreciated, and is the main concern of the poem. Poetry is not like mathematical problem that will always have an answer at the end of it.
Yeah, yeah, very good. Yes, yeah, yeah. I mean, that's what he's saying. He's saying, you know, a poem should not be tortured to tell you something, to say something, to really reveal something. But sometimes, I don't know, somebody wanting to say something, I don't know this.
Excuse me, Doctor.
Anybody? Yeah?
Yes, doctor, I want to say.
Yeah?
Go ahead, Saeed.
Yes. Okay. I think the poem is describing the reader opinion, the reader direction when he's reading a poem, and how his reaction about when reading a poem.
Yeah. Yes, Saeed. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, Amir?
Doctor, the writer here say that people will squeeze the meaning out of the poem. So if it's like a poem for fun or just to pass time, they will try to make a meaning out of it.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Faiz again?
That not every poem has a meaning. It is not a necessarily thing. Maybe he's expressing himself. He don't mean anything by it.
Yeah. Yeah. You see, sometimes, you know, he's saying that, really, he's saying to people, if you are reading poetry for meanings, if you are reading poetry for meanings only, you are wrong. Because maybe there are some poems which have really given up meanings. We don't care about meanings. He wants to say, come on, not necessarily every poem should have a message, should have a lesson, should have a moral lesson, or should have a social lesson, or should have something. No, he wants to say, well, poetry can be only poetical, can be only musical, can be only images and, you know, sounds and rhythm and so on. Sometimes poetry, yeah, there are messages. Yeah, there are messages. There are lessons. There are things, but not necessarily all the time. You know, that's what he's saying. People who want messages and lessons from poems, and people who torture poems because they want to get meanings out of them, they are wrong, because he's saying not always we have that. And really, that's the idea. He wants to say, ladies and gentlemen, poetry is something else. Poetry is not like a play or like a novel or like, you know, history or piece of news or piece of biography or something. Because he wants to say poetry is art, poetry is music, and you know, it's to do with your own spirituality, with your own maybe amazing emotional thing, which is not sometimes touched. You can't touch it physically, you know. That's really what he means here. And it's really an interesting poem here by Billy Collins. They say, you know, to look at the poem to see what's inside it. And that's why sometimes the formalist said, you know, you have to see beyond the poem, not the poem itself. Because he said, if you look at the window and you see only the outside of the window and you forget the pane, you know, the window pane, the glass, you don't look at the glass, you look through the glass. You know, and he's saying here that sometimes it's not fair always to look at the bird behind the window or at the wall behind the window. You know, you have to look at the glass itself and look at the language itself, the beauty of it itself, and so on. Okay, really, this is the idea, boys and girls, Billy Collins is trying to say here. And
Doctor,
really,
can
this
I
is,
add something?
sorry?
Can I add something? I wanted to answer before, but my microphone wasn't working.
Yeah.
I was just
Ali.
going to say, yeah, I was just going to say that the author of the poem is just saying to enjoy the poem. He made it seem like you should be skiing and all of that, something fun, rather than trying to torture a meaning out of it just to understand it. It's not about that. It's about enjoyment more than understanding.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. Yes. I mean, there are so many things he wants to say. You know, he gave us only few hints or few suggestions about how do you see a poem. Yeah, of course, he's giving us various things, and he made it, as you can see, the poem here as quite short, but just as an idea to say that how people really sometimes misapply or misconceive what really poetry is, you know? And I think this is the, yeah?
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
What do you think about people saying that if a poem doesn't have a meaning, then it's just not a poem? You yourself, I mean.
You mean, did I say that myself? If a poem...
No, I
Are
mean,
you
like,
saying?
what do you think about people who say that?
Oh, yeah. No. I think they are wrong. No, because poetry is not only meaning. Really, poetry is, you know, there's something called art. It's really art. It's rhythm. It's really, you know, technique, style, language, metaphors, images, you know, pictures, you know, all this. And sometimes you can use words and you can use rhyme and you can sometimes say, what do you mean there? What sometimes like, hey, let me tell you, yeah, Abdullah, isn't it? Abdurrahman.
Yeah, I do agree with you, Doctor.
Abdurrahman,
Yeah.
let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. Do you know Greek or Turkish or Pakistani or any other language like French? Do you know French?
No, unfortunately, I don't.
Very good. But do you enjoy French music? If you hear French music or French songs or Italian songs or Turkish songs, do you?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. Why do you enjoy the French songs or Turkish songs
Yes.
or Indian songs?
The
Why?
melody and the tune itself.
Exactly. Very good. That's poetry. You enjoy the music. You enjoy the sounds. You enjoy the music and the rhythm. That's poetry. Really, sometimes when I was young, maybe when I was at school the first time, I heard the line, as I told you, maybe I mentioned this to you before, about Imru al-Qais, and I love this line. I always mention this to my students. We say, "Mikarrin, mifarrin, muqbilin, mudbirin, ma'an." You know, I spent time, and I never knew what the meaning of these words. But I love the words, but not the meaning. You understand?
Yeah, I do agree with you, actually.
Yeah, well, that's poetry. Really, that's poetry. You know, the rhythm, the music, the lines, the tempo, the repetition, blah, blah, blah. And of course, later on, you get the meaning. Yeah, of course.
Doctor?
Yeah, Maha?
I think a work of poetry is rather to be felt and enjoyed instead of brooding on its meaning.
Yeah, exactly. Felt. I like the word felt, to be felt. Yes, yeah, Maha. Yeah, Al-Maha. Yes, to be felt. Absolutely. You feel it through your ears, through your mouth, you know, your all your senses, and then you get the meaning, you know? Yeah, of course. Yeah, any comments? Really, this is the idea I want to say here. Now, if you,
Doctor,
yeah,
do you say that there are some poetries that don't have any meanings, just
well,
words?
no, I'm not saying exactly. I say the meaning will not be clear, or the meaning is not important. But you see, always words have meanings. You know, words, language have meanings, and poets normally do not put words like that. Of course, they don't put words like that in a crazy way. No, I'm not saying poetry or there is poetry which has no meaning. I'm not saying that. You understand? I'm saying that I'm saying to you, like what I said, when you listen to French music, you enjoy it. Like when you listen to Turkish or Kurdish music and you enjoy it. Or like even songs they sing and they don't know what you're saying. Even you repeat the words, but you don't know what they are saying. Right? And the way they say the words like Kurdish or Indian music, and you don't know what they say. But you dance with it, you enjoy it, isn't it? You dance and
Yes.
enjoy it, you feel it, but you don't know the meaning, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, this is exactly what I'm saying. Now, the point I want to say here in after this is what we call really narrative poetry. Narrative poetry, as I told you before, really all poetry, to be honest, all poetry, in some way or another, they tell something. They tell you something. They narrate something. They tell a story. They give you a narrative. They give you a narrative. So when you say narrative poetry, you can say, well, nearly all poetry is narrative. All poetry can be narrative, yeah. So really here we are going to say that sometimes some poems really like in a story, they narrate and narrate, they tell you something and you are listening to a story. And sometimes I told you before, some poems even in the old days, even in the days of Chaucer, the very early beginnings of English poetry, like Geoffrey Chaucer, he wrote a huge poem called it Tales. He used the word tales, حكايات. So كيف poetry and حكايات, you know? How? You know, this is the idea I'm saying. How it's poetry and then حكايات, narratives and tales. So which means really, for example, his huge, Geoffrey Chaucer wrote a great book of poetry called the Canterbury Tales. The Canterbury Tales. حكايات Canterbury. And really it's a huge, huge poem, about 300 pages. It's a volume, it's a book of poetry. It's narrated by 30 people because there were 30 pilgrims going to Canterbury. And they were telling stories and stories and stories. So here we are saying that there is what's called one kind of poetry, which is called narrative poetry, which means really the focus here will be more on the narrative, But of course, we still have rhythm, we still have meter, we still have metaphors, we still have language, we still have music, blah, 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 blah. So really, to be honest with you, all poetry can be narrative. All poetry is narrative, full stop. So here I'm giving you this as an example here by Edwin Arlington Robinson, who is an American poet. Actually, I give this poem also to my students in another course in American Survey for my arts students as an example of modernist poetry, as an example of really modernist symbolical poetry. Here we have a poem which tells a story about a man called Richard Corey. Anybody read it? Boys, girls?
No.
Not
You
yet.
mean to read it,
Not,
Doctor?
not me. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Look at this. Look at this poem. Really, he is very, again, funny man here. The name is called Richard Corey. Is the name of a man. Whenever, let me read this. Whenever, can you see my page? You can, huh?
Yeah, it's clear.
Yes, doctor.
Whenever
Yeah.
Richard Corey, whenever Richard Corey went downtown, we people on the pavement looked at him. He was a gentleman from soul to crown, clean-favored and imperially slim. And he was always quietly arrayed, and he was always human when he talked, but still he fluttered pulses when he said, "Good morning," and he listened when he walked. And he was rich, yes, richer than a king, and admirably schooled in every grace. In fine, we thought that he was everything to make us wish that we were in his place. And so on we worked and waited for the light, and went without the meat and cursed the bread. And Richard Corey, one calm summer night, went home and put a bullet through his head. Boys, girls, what do you think? What do you understand from this poem? Quickly, 1, 2 line, or 2, 3 words.
Can I answer?
Depression.
Impression? What did you say?
No, depression.
Depression. Good. Yeah. Another one.
Don't judge people.
Dark.
Don't judge people by what they look. Very good. Yeah.
Looks can be deceiving.
Looks can be deceiving. Yeah.
Money is not everything.
Very good. My good boys and girls. Yeah. Very good. That means you've done your homework, which is really good. Now, let me ask you one thing here. Can you scan the first line?
What word?
The first line. Scan. You know scan? The number of feet. Whenever, Richard Corey went downtown. Whenever, huh?
It's a pentameter, doctor, isn't it?
Very good. Yeah. Whenever. And stress. Whenever. Richard, again, whenever Richard Corey went downtown. How many? 4 or 5?
5.
Huh?
5.
Yeah. We people on the pavement looked at him. You know, he was a gentleman from soul to crown. You know, this is from now on, as I will show you all the time, we want to try to see how we can scan the line. Wana and stress. Varich and stress. Redco and stress. Re-went and stress. Downtown, etc. Now, you can tell me, why did you say unstressed stress? Why not stress unstressed? You know? And he was always quietly arrayed, and so on. So you can see again, town, crown, notice town, him, crown, slim. AB, isn't it? Town, crown, and then him and slim. AB. We start with the letters always. A, B, C, D, E, F, etc. So town A, him B, and then crown A, and then slim, because slim go with him, and town with crown, isn't it? So this is what we call the rhyme. Are you following, boys and girls?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Again, we say arrayed, said, and talked, walked. Again, the same thing. King, thing, and grace, place. Again, the same thing. Light, night, bread, head. You know, this is what we call the rhyme A, B, A, B, A, B, A, B. Or when you want to count, you can just again to say, because it's the same poem, A, B, A, B, C, D, C, D. Again, the same thing. You can say C, D, C, D. And here E, F, because you don't repeat the same A, because you are in the same poem. You know? So you use the letters. You use the alphabet, the English alphabet. Okay, boys and girls, I think this is the idea we can look at it. Really, here we are telling a story about a man, Richard Corey. Whenever Richard Corey went downtown, we people in the pavement looked at him. Al-Maha.
Yes, Doctor.
Maha,
Yes.
where is the narrator? Do we have a narrator here?
No, maybe the third person?
Yeah, very good. Yeah, the third person, we said we. So it's a narrator speaking like in a plural voice. We see, we the people of the town looked at him. So we here is the voice of the whole people of the town. So a third person, or if you like, the plural, we don't say first person because first means one. So it's in the plural voice. The speaker here, we have speakers. So we have narrators. Or we have one person speaking in the, as we say, on behalf of the whole town. When he's saying, we the people on the pavement looked at him. We were watching him. So here we have a narrator, okay? And the narrator is one voice among other voices. So that's why when you say telling a story, because this is a poem, and we say narrative poem, when we say narrative, then there is a narrator. And this narrator is a third person or a first person in the plural, saying we. So the speaker is one man, but he's speaking in the voice of everybody in the town, because he said we and we and we, right? So yes, we have a narrator, like when we studied in the story in the last term. We have narrators who tell the story, and here is clear because this man is telling us his and the town's impression about this man called Richard Corey. And here Richard Corey, you know, we say the way he describes him in an amazing way. Whenever Richard Corey went downtown, we people on the pavement looked at him. He was a gentleman from sole to crown, you know, from his foot up till his head. He is a gentleman. Wow, he's amazing. We were sitting on the pavement. Pavement? We looked at him. Why pavement? People sitting on the pavement, what are they doing? Amir.
Yes, doctor.
What are they doing on the pavement?
They are admiring him.
People normally sit at home or they sit on their pavements.
What is pavement?
Pavement means the sidewalks and the streets, the sidewalks where people walk. You know the sidewalks?
Yeah.
Yes.
No, notice the last stanza. I said, so on we worked. So on we worked. and waited for the light, and went without the meat and cursed the bread. And Richard Corey, we worked. What were they doing there?
Doctor,
What kind of people are these?
They were envying him. They wanted what he have.
What are they?
The people who cleans the shoes, maybe?
Workers, some kind of workers. Street workers, maybe.
Very good. Street workers or slaves. Maybe slaves. And maybe Richard Corey is a white man, is a master. He is a master, a white master, a terrible rich man, white rich man. And these people are normal, down-to-earth, working-class people. Maybe black people, maybe slaves, maybe red Indians, maybe poor people, working people. And that's why they are admiring him. He's a gentleman. You know, whenever Richard Corey went downtown, you know, they're watching him, isn't it? We people on the pavement, could be, you know. Yeah, Amir, do you know Amir?
Yes, doctor.
I was in Saudi for 15 years, you know?
Yeah, and Taif, he told me.
In Taif, I'll tell you a story. In Taif, I've seen this many times. I saw people with really lovely houses, absolutely lovely villas. Huh?
With you, doctor.
And then nearly, I've seen this, especially in the outskirts of Taif, and you can see people putting some like carpets or some like mats on the pavement at the front door and the outside, sitting and watching and drinking tea or coffee or shisha or something, and then just like this, relaxing and watching the people on the streets. I haven't seen this here in Oman. People here don't sit on the outside.
No, we do.
Amir,
Yeah, we do.
do you in the villages, you mean?
Yeah, me myself.
In the villages?
Yeah.
Huh?
Especially old people do it, doctor.
Young people?
No, not young, old people.
Old people, they sit outside.
Yeah.
They watch people going and coming.
Yeah, sometimes they, give them in.
Give them in? Oh my God. No, sometimes they judge them. Sometimes they tell story about them. Sometimes they like to talk and tell stories, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Really, we are funny. You know, people are funny. They are amazing. We have this in Syria in the same way. People like that. They love to watch others and, which is really funny. So our friend here, he said, we, the people on the pavement, they could be sitting like this, watching. Huh? Watching anybody coming and going. Could be. But here, really, these people are workers, are terrible, hard-working people, could be slaves. He was a gentleman from soul to crown. Wow. وكان نبيلا من أخمص قدميه حتى to his crown.
رأسه.
MashaAllah, wasn't it? Clean favored and imperially slim. Notice the word imperial, it means very tall and slim, and clean and nice and good looking, etc. Whoa, wow. And he was always quietly arrayed. The way he dresses, the way he looks, he's always quiet and nice. He was always human when he talked. Even when he talks to you, you feel, wow, he's very lovely and he's very human. But still, he fluttered pulses when he said, good morning. Even when he said, sometimes with the way he speaks, the way he's like, sometimes when he say fluttered means as if he says something in an emotional way, in a quick way, and he glittered when he walked. Glittered means the way he walks like dancing. You know, the way he prances, like prancing, you know, because glittering in walks, it's like dancing, you know, these young people, the way they walk, you know. And he was rich. Yes, richer than a king. يا إلهي وكان غنيا. نعم كان غنيا كالملك. Allahu Akbar. Isn't it? He was rich. Yes, yes, yes. نعم نعم يا عمي نعم. نعم يا عمي نعم. لقد كان غنيا. يا عامر.
نعم دكتور.
هذا موضوع العين وصلنا عليه ها؟ Isn't it? He was rich. Yes, yes. Richer than a king. And admirably schooled in every grace. Means very, very rich. And he got absolutely lovely, good education. From every kind of education, he was schooled. He has been given education from every kind and every side. From every grace. من كل أنواع النعم. Here really grace, نعمة. ما شاء الله. الله لا يحرمنا النعم. Isn't it? In fine, we thought that he was. In fine, we thought that he was everything. To make us wish that we were in his place. Really, 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 he looks absolutely perfect. He was completely fine and lovely and perfect. That everybody, we thought that everything about him is perfect. And we really, really, all of us admired him. Maybe envied him. Maybe envied him. Yeah, we wanted to be in his place. So on we worked. So as if to say that we were watching and watching and watching, but then we have to do our job. And so on we worked. وعدنا إلى العمل. We had to go back to work and work and work and waited for the light and went without the meat. Meaning we were working from early morning till sunset. Means when it's dark, we work from the beginning of the day till the very end of the day. When it's dark, no light anymore, and went without the meat. Normally workers who work very hard, they need to get something really healthy food, meat and something, and went without the meat. We didn't have anything to eat. We were starved because we are slaves, because we are poor workers. Nobody gave us the food that we want. And cursed the bread. I think this is bad. And this is blasphemy. We say blasphemy. When we say curse the bread, I think, astaghfirullah, we don't curse the bread. Isn't it?
Yeah, they had enough of it.
Yeah, but you don't curse bread. Al-khubz. Al-khubz.
Astaghfirullah. No, we don't.
Exactly. Al-khubz. Ni'mah. We never, for no reason, we never curse the bread. Isn't it? So why is he saying this? Because they are very poor, very miserable. They are never given anything, only dry bread with water. And they are sick of it. They are sick and they are starving for something good. And to the extent that they said, we had enough of this. And Richard Corey, one calm summer night, وفي ليلة هادئة من ليالي الصيف وفي ليلة وفي ليلة هادئة من ليالي الصيف. Allah, Allah. Went home and put a bullet through his head. Allah لا يرحمك. عامر.
نعم دكتور.
How can you kill yourself?
Doctor, looks can be deceiving. Not every rich person is happy.
But you don't kill yourself.
So doctor, يمكن إيمان ضعيف ولا شيء.
The life is demanding.
No, 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 no. We should never kill ourselves. No. Yeah.
Are we still talking about poetry?
The life demanded.
Very good question. Who said that? Who said that? Are we talking about poetry?
Me, Abdurrahman.
Very good, Ya Abdul Rahman. I think you got the message. I think, Ya Abdul Rahman, you got the idea. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So now you, Abdul Rahman, is saying, hey. Poetry is meaning. Poetry is society. Poetry is death. Poetry is punishment. Poetry is miserable. Isn't it? Abdul Rahman. Isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. So really, yeah, absolutely, boys and girls. This poem here really is telling a story about this man. Yeah, it's a narrative. And yeah, it's really very lovely here. As you can see, there is, a strong message at the end. Yes, there are strong messages. Yes. There are lovely meanings. Yes. Okay.
No.
Yeah.
There is no any lovely meaning. He destroys the whole meaning. At the beginning we were enjoying the rhythm and the song, and then he destroys everything in the last. Everything is gone. I wanted to leave the meeting, to be honest.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, Muhammad. Yeah, you see, this is the idea, because I'm telling you, really, boys and girls, poetry is a huge mixture of things. I showed you the rhythm, the meter, the voice, and the tempo, etc., the musicality, and so on. But yeah, there is a message at the end of the day, because the story here, there is a story. And it happens that this story is miserable, is tragical, really. It's a tragedy here. This man we are deceived by him. He looks like to be absolutely fantastic and lovely and blah, 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 blah. But it seems, that we are wrong. As we say, not everything which glitters is golden, isn't it? Not everything that glitters is golden. Not everything that glitters is golden, isn't it? ليس ما كل ما يلمع ذهب, isn't it? Exactly. He looks golden, but he's miserable. That's why he killed himself, isn't it?
Yes.
I mean, he must have many reasons. We don't know, really. The poem does not tell us anything about why, but we can have so many explanations. We can say why, it's up to us. Anyway, boys and girls, really, this is the idea I'm saying here about the story. We are being told a story here. And I think if I move to the next poem for you today, there's a lovely poem called Mending Wall. I will show you this. We still have 10 minutes, and I can show you this poem, another poem which tells a story here in the same way. You can still see my screen, correct?
Yes.
Yes, Doctor.
Yeah, Doctor.
I'm running through to show you. The next one is called Mending Wall by our friend Robert Frost, the another crazy American poet. And I don't know if he's crazy, but forgive me for that. But I can say whatever I like, no problem. Well, where is he? Mending Wall, come on. Edgar Allan Poe. My God, where is he? Yeah, that's him. Robert Frost. Robert Frost, as you can see, died 1963. Another American poet. And this one called Mending Wall here. Page in your booklets, in your notes, page 47. Here, to go back to my friend, Anfal at the beginning of this lecture today, she asked about fixed line and fixed poetry. This one, look at it, yeah, Anfal, and everybody. Anfal, isn't it?
Yes, doctor.
Are you here, or you are maybe you're cooking the dinner today?
No, I'm here.
You are not doing any cooking?
No.
Okay, now look at the poem here. Look how long, this is non-ending, as you can see. This is what we mean again, not fixed. How many lines? God knows. Nobody, he doesn't really tell us. Again, where is the rhyme? We say wall, it, sun, breast, thing, repair, stone, hiding, mean, made, ba, ba, ba. Where is the rhyme? No rhyme. Where is the rhyme? No rhyme. So again, no fixed. How many lines? I don't know. He wrote here, for example, 45 lines. Somebody else may write 100 lines. So there's no really fixed rule here. And this man here is a poet telling us a story about his neighbor. Here, two neighbors. Do you know the story about this one, Mending Wall? Anybody knows anything?
No, mister.
Yeah. So here we have two neighbors. We have two neighbors, and there's a wall between them. Two houses and two gardens. These neighbors have a big house and a garden, each one of them, and they have a wall separating the two houses, separating the two neighbors. And here, this wall is always damaged, and they want to fix this wall. One neighbor says, why do we need this wall? And the other neighbor says, no, I want this wall because my father says good walls make good neighbors, or good fences make good neighbors. Good fences make good neighbors. I will ask you this question later on when we read this. Notice, something there is that does not love a wall. Something there is that does not love a wall. Something there is that does not love a wall. Something, unstressed stress, there is, unstressed stress, that again, unstressed stress, not love, unstressed stress, at wall, unstressed stress. Iambic pentameter, ya Amir, isn't it?
Yes,
Boy,
doctor.
Yes,
boys,
doctor. Yes.
With you.
huh? You following?
Yes.
Yeah.
The scanning.
We're following.
Yeah. The scanning here again, something there is that does not love at all. Something to something. And as I said, scanning is syllabic, the syllable. Something, 2 syllables. There is 2 syllables. That does not, does not or doesn't. If you say does not or doesn't, the same. That does not love at all. Unstressed stress, 1. There is 2. That does 3. Not love, 4. At all, 5. Iambic pentameter. Again, the same thing. That sense, the frozen ground swell under it. Again, the same thing. Unstressed stress. So here we have we have meter, but no rhyme. We have meter, but no rhyme. Meter, but no rhyme. Because wall, we have no other sound, the same thing. Now, the man here, the narrator is telling us something about one neighbor is speaking to the other and telling us this. Something there is that does not love a wall, that sends the frozen. Yeah, somebody speaking? Anyway, that sends the frozen ground swell under it, that spills the upper boulders in the sun, and makes gaps even two can pass abreast. The works of hunters is another thing. I have come after them and made repair. When they have left not one stone on a stone, but they would have the rabbit out of hiding to please the yelping dogs. The gaps, I mean, no one has seen them made or heard them made. But at spring mending time, we find them there. I let my neighbor know beyond the hill. And on a day we meet to walk the line and set the wall between us once again. We keep the wall between us as we go to each the boulders that have fallen to each. And some are loaves and some so neatly balls. We have to use a spell to make them balance. Stay where you are until our backs are turned. Stay where you are until our backs are turned. We wear our fingers rough with handling them. Oh, just another kind of outdoor game. On one on a side, it comes to little more. There where it is, we do not need the wall. He's all pine and I'm apple orchard. My apple trees will never get across and eat the cones under his pines, I tell him. He only says, good fences make good neighbors. He only says, good fences make good neighbors. Spring is the mischief in me, and I wonder if I could put a notion in his head. Why do they make good neighbors, isn't it? Where there are cows, but here there are no cows. Before I built a wall, I would ask to know what I was walling in or walling out, and to whom I was like to give offense. Something there is that does not love a wall. That won't sit down. I could say elves to him, but it isn't elves exactly, and I'd rather he said it for himself. I see him there bringing a stone grasped firmly by the top in each hand, like an old stone savage armed. He moves in darkness, as it seems to me, not of woods only and the shade of trees. He will not go beyond his father's saying, and he likes having thought of it so well. He says again, good fences make good neighbors. Well, here there's a story. One neighbor likes to put this wall. He said, why do we need this wall? And the other man said, no, I think we need a wall because having a wall is good, is better. And he said, why are we walling in? Why are you walling in? What are we walling in or walling out? What is there to lose? we have lost nothing. You have no cows to cross to me, and even if you have cows, your cows will not come and eat my field. And I have no cows to go to you to eat your apples. So why do we need a wall? Why do we need a wall? And his neighbors say, no, we need a wall. I think a wall is good because good fences make good neighbors. What do you think? Yeah, Amir.
Yes, Doctor.
Ali, Abdurrahman, boys. I have 16 boys, mashallah, this time.
He doesn't mean real walls, metaphorically, I think.
Yeah, I think he means both, really. To be honest, yeah, he means both.
How?
Yeah, because sometimes, you know,
Sorry.
look around you here. In everywhere you find walls around, you know, around houses. You always have walls, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, sure, we have walls.
Yeah, walls means maybe privacy.
But if
Maybe
he says it as a metaphor, doesn't a wall mean a separation between two things? Like
oh yeah, of course, yeah, of course.
How
Let me
come
see.
a wall how come a reason of separation make a good neighbor?
Yeah, Faiz, yeah, I see what you mean exactly. Yeah, because the other one is talking about physical wall, real wall. And you know, to be honest with you, walls are better than no walls.
Yeah, I agree. Like physically, I agree. But I mean, as a metaphor, doesn't that mean he have a trouble with his neighbor? Like a certain wall is between him and his neighbor. He can't reach his neighbor from an emotional.
Yeah, of course.
So how can a troublesome neighbor become a good neighbor? Isn't that contradictory?
Yeah. Notice, for example, boys and girls, for example, in villages, and I'm sure in your villages, houses have no walls. I mean, outside. Many houses with no outside walls. I mean, not the exact physical room, but the outside main yard.
I don't think so.
Well, in many...
There are some, Doctor.
I know this. I've seen it in many countries, in villages, you have just the house, but no wall to protect the house. You know? And many
old villages.
Yeah, I'm saying, that's what I'm saying.
We still have the remaining of these villages.
Yeah. The idea here, he's saying, of course, there is, you know, this contrast here really between physical wall and metaphorical wall. To go back to Faiz and to whoever who was speaking, it's to do with the real physical implication, the real physical meaning of the wall. Anyway, read my comments on this poem and we'll discuss it. We'll continue next time. I think that's it for today, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Thank you for being with me, and I will stop recording. If you have any question, you can ask.